Well, hello, good morning, good day. How you going? This is Roger Roadside saying hello. Hello. Listen, it's time for the weekend roundup. Well, I think we missed one round, but we're now on round. All teams have played 20 games. So if we have a look at the 3rd of Jan, which I think was the Saturday, I believe it was the Saturday. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it was the Saturday. Look at that. I know what I'm doing. On the 3rd of Jan, we had a few games on the Saturday, starting off with Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest. Look, I think everyone would have put their money on Aston Villa to come away with the win there, and they did comfortably. I think it got off to a very good start for Aston Villa, scoring one just before half-time with Ollie Watkins getting on the score sheet, taking it to 1-0 going into half-time, and then just after half-time, McGinn scoring at 49th minute. But then, not Forest, they gave it a bit of a go. Gibbs White scoring at the 61st minute, which basically gave them about 30 minutes of play to try and at least get a point out of it. But they just couldn't. Aston Villa ran away with it. McGinn scored his second at the 73rd minute. And look, another good, confident game for Aston Villa. And go and check the video, check the tapes. I said in one of the previous tapes that Aston Villa, bit of a dark horse. There's not much pressure on them. They're in a position, Arsenal, even though they're doing well at the moment, Arsenal, when it gets to 5 or 6 games before, maybe even more, maybe 8 or so games before the end of the season, it'll be in the back of their mind, when will they choke? When will they start bottling it? Manchester City, always under pressure, always, because they know as a club they've amassed a fantastic squad of players, and a lot of money has been invested in the club and the squad, and so there's a lot of pressure that hangs over their head for Manchester City. Whereas Aston Villa, they're in a position at the moment where they're the new kids on the block for this year. Hello, Carl. And, not so much pressure on them. So, look, 3-1 to Aston Villa, great result for them. They keep on their winning ways. We then had Brighton 2, Burnley 0. Good result there for Brighton. And then, wow, how's this? How's this? Now it is definitely squeaky bum time for West Ham fans. Definitely squeaky bum time. West Ham 0, Wolverhampton Wolves 3. Strike a light. How did that happen? Arias scored in the 4th minute. Hechan scored from a pen on the 31st minute. And then we had, I don't know if it's Mane or Main, scoring at the 41st minute. Basically scored 3 goals before half-time. The game was over. I believe West Ham fans were walking out at half-time. So, I mean, look, it's a tough time to be a West Ham fan. They need to really pull some results out of the bag. There's a lot of people that are still saying, a lot of pundits, a lot of commentators, a lot of people in the industry are still saying that West Ham have time to get up. But, if you're talking to Roger Roadside, I'm saying it's squeaky bum time for West Ham. And unless something drastic changes over the next few games, I will be putting money on them going down. Not physically money on them, but because you probably wouldn't get good odds at this stage. But yeah, I just don't think they're. I don't know what's going on there. I think it needs to be massively shaken up, and we'll come to them in a little bit. But perhaps what Manchester United did, West Ham should be doing, and they should be investing this January, in this transfer period, trying to get a little bit more firepower up front. But yeah, they're in a world of hurt. Then the final game for Saturday was Bournemouth versus Arsenal. Look, I guess anyone and everyone would have thought that Arsenal should have probably won this easily. However, Evan Elson scored in the 10th minute mark for Bournemouth, took them 1-0 up. Then Gabriel scored, most likely with a header, I assume, at the 16th minute to draw. Rice, baby. So going into half-time, it was 1-1, and I remember watching the score and just thinking, look, this is this is potentially a good result for City here. But then Rice scored the second goal at the 54th minute, and then scored his second goal at the 71st minute to take him 3-1 up. And look, Bournemouth gave themselves a bit of a chance. They scored their second goal at the 76th minute. They had, over 15 minutes of game time to score an equaliser, and, fair play to Arsenal. They kept them at bay. And again, Arsenal scraped away with a jammy win. And look, I know it all goes down in the books as 3 points. Doesn't matter if you win by one goal or if you win by 100 goals. You get the same amount of points for the latter. So, look, at the end of the day. But there is a string of jammy results here by Arsenal. They're not blowing teams out of the water, and they're definitely not, they're not dominating sides that you would think they would be dominating. But, fair play to them. They got the 3 points, and that's something that's you can't say that City are doing on a consistent basis. So, we then moved on to Saturday, and look, this was a game that caused, we've done a video about it already, but this game caused, had a massive aftermath. It was the Leeds-Manchester United game. Leeds United won, Manchester United won. So it ended up in a draw. I believe that Leeds, scored first with Aronson scoring at the 62nd minute mark. But Cunha equalised quickly after that at the 65th minute mark. If we have a look at the stats, I mean, is there much in it? They both had roughly same amount of shots on target. 3 shots on target to Leeds, 2 shots on target to Manchester United, 6 shots on off target to Leeds, 8 shots off target to Manchester United. So look, that each one of them had roughly 10 shots on goals. Manchester United were a bit unlucky, had 5 shots blocked. Manchester United had a little bit more possession, 55% possession, in compared to 45% possession. But look, they didn't dominate. They didn't dominate the situation, and look, they were left wanting. And if you look at their squad and their playing style at that point in time, it's just inconsistency. And I did the video obviously about Amorim being fired, and I think I even said in the video that he'd been there for 2 or 3 years. And look, that was my own naivety. 13 months he'd been there. 13 months, so a little bit over a year. And the poor chap had seen one proper transfer period to build a squad. And I'm fighting myself from doing another video about Amorim, because obviously I did my video just as the news broke, and I have to throw my hands up. I'm not a Amorim or a Manchester United expert. So, but I've watched a few videos since, and just the fact that the people above the board and all sorts of stuff came out when he first got appointed, saying we're going to give him 3 years. It's going to be tough. Things aren't going to change overnight, and all that sort of jazz. And 13 months into it, they've pied him off. And look, I know that he obviously said some things, and he was probably a little bit too truthful, but at the end of the day, Manchester United are just an absolute shit show at the moment. And look, long may it continue, because I'm a Manchester City supporter. So, it's very funny, but I do feel, I tell you what, I do feel for the fans. I do feel for the fans. I don't feel for the club, but I do feel for the fans. No one deserves to. It's bad enough living in a country where you feel like the people in charge of it are making stupid decisions, and decisions that just don't make sense, to let alone then have your football club run by people who just run it in a way that it just doesn't make sense. Why would you keep amassing a massive amount of debt over the last decade and not pay any of it off? Why would you not invest in the areas that you clearly need to invest in? Midfield, wings. Why would you appoint a manager come out publicly and say you're going to give him 3 years, and then 13 months into it, and allowing him to just have one transfer period to put a squad together, and sack him. I mean, I was watching a video the other day, and someone was talking about the amount of coaches that Luke Shaw has seen during his time at Manchester United since he came over from Southampton, and I think there's about 7 managers. He's only been there about 6 years, or not 6 years. He's only been there about maybe 8 or 9 years, something like that. He's been there for about a decade. So basically, over the last, within the last 10 years, they've definitely had about 7 managers. And that's just me going from memory. So don't quote me. Don't use, if that ever comes up in a quiz at a pub, don't go, well, Roger Roadside said 7, so it must be 7. I'm just guessing here, but they've been through quite a lot, haven't they? But anyway, yeah, Manchester United, bit of a shit show. I feel for the fans, but you had your good times. Go back, get the old VHSs, put the old VHS player on, and watch all the glory days. Glory, Man United. When you used to go around and hoover up all the talent, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, look, that was a draw. I mean, you would have expected Man United to come away with a win there, but they are, they are struggling with some injuries. So, I don't know. Look, there's a lot of people at the moment saying that Man United are going to bounce now with Darren Fletcher in charge, and obviously a new manager coming in. I mean, I just can't think of a worse time to swap over a manager. I said this about West Ham, that maybe, but West Ham are in a position where they have to do something. If I was West Ham at the moment, I would definitely just change direction now and try to shake things up to try to eke out some points, because whatever you're doing now isn't working. Manchester United, different kettle of fish. Draws, win, draw, loss. I mean, the last 5-6 games haven't been horrendous, but they just haven't been great. And I don't know, to be 13 months into a 3-year project and pull the plug, I think is a bit different than West Ham's situation. But anyway, let's move on. The next game was Everton versus Brentford. Everton 2, Brentford 4. Good result here for Brentford. Everton have been, doing well. I mean, Brentford basically ran away with it from the beginning with 3-0, but then Everton scored a goal at the 66th minute. Brentford got their 4th at the 88th. Everton got a consolatory goal at 90+1. So, look, a good result there for Brentford are doing well. Good result for them. Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. Newcastle 2, Crystal Palace 0. Good game there for Newcastle. Tottenham versus Sunderland. Look, tough game here for Tottenham. Sunderland playing quite well. Very hard to score a lot of goals against Sunderland. And that's quite prevalent. So, Tottenham 1, Sunderland 1. I guess a good result for both teams there. Fulham versus Liverpool. Look, you probably would have put money on Liverpool to come away with a result here with 3 points in the bag, but they only came away with 1 point, with Fulham scoring 2 and Liverpool scoring 2. And then we had another tough game, Manchester City versus Chelsea. Manchester City 1, Chelsea 1. Again, City squander points, going 1-0 up at the 42nd minute mark, with Reinders scoring a great goal. Going into half-time, 1-0 up, and then at the 4th minute of extra time in the final half, 90+4, Fernandes scored the equaliser. And look, I mean, you can't be sad. It was I think, what was it, 3 shots? The first shot rebounded into Fernandes. He then kicked it. Donnarumma blocked it. He kicked it again. Donnarumma blocked it again. And he then kicked it again. And look, it's just unfortunate. There was not much that Donnarumma could have done. But it is another 3 points, or at least another 2 points squandered. It's tough. I think City should have come away with the points, probably deserved to come away with the points. but we didn't. And, this is the difference between Arsenal and Manchester City at the moment. Arsenal are being clinical. They're not necessarily playing the best football, but they're coming away with 3 points. City are coming away with 3 points, drawing a game. Coming away with 3 points, coming away with 3 points, coming away with 3 points, drawing a game. It's starting to get to the point where Manchester City really need to win every game from here on in to really catch up with Arsenal. But that wraps up the round. If we look at the ladder as it stands at the moment, it is not too dissimilar to what it has been over the last few weeks. Not much of a change that I can recall. We've got Arsenal on top, City behind them. Now 6 points is the gap. Aston Villa have climbed up to be on the same points as City, both on 42. But obviously City with a much more dominant goal difference of 26 in comparison to Aston Villa's 9. We then have Liverpool in 4th, Chelsea in 5th. 6th is Manchester United on 31 points. And then in 7th, Brentford on 30. In 8th, Sunderland on 30. In 9th, Newcastle on 29. And 10th, Brighton with 28. So really between 5th and 10th, it's only a game. 28 points to Brighton in 10th. And as we go on, you'll see there's actually a couple of other teams on 28 points. But if we just go down to 10, Brighton on 28 and Chelsea on 31. 3 points in it. And, if everyone else loses, you could skyrocket into that 5th position. But then going on from there, we've got Fulham at 11 on 28 points. Everton in 12th on 28 points as well. So as you can see, really from that 12th position up to 5th, 3 points. 3 points separates them. Tottenham in 13th position on 27th. Crystal Palace in 14th position on 27 as well. And then after here is where it starts to fall down. So really from 14th up, there's some really good breathing room. We then start to get into the weaker end of the market with Bournemouth on 23, Leeds on 22, Nottingham Forest on 18, and then we get to West Ham on 14, Burnley on 12, Wolves on 6. They do get a few more points to their bag with that win, so a good result there for Wolves. Look, there's still a lot of games left in the season. I know Wolves have been playing terrible, but so are Burnley, so are West Ham. Forest aren't playing that great. Leeds aren't playing that great. Bournemouth aren't playing that great, consistently. So, I mean, if you're any one of those teams, even if you are a few points behind, if you have a good run and you take away maybe, 7 points out of 3 games, it could change very swiftly. But that's been the weekend roundup. Look, I hope you've enjoyed it. Listen, if you can whack a comment in the comments below who your side is, how you think your side's going. What do you think? We're basically just over halfway through the period now, through the season. What's your predictions for the end of the year? Do you think Arsenal will run away with it? Do you think City will take over? Or do you think that my prediction of Aston Villa may be coming away with a sneaky trophy? And maybe one that, I couldn't tell you when put in the comments, do the research. I can't be bothered. But have a look to see if Aston Villa has won the Premier League. When the last time they did that? Could it be Aston Villa's year? Who knows? Make sure you like the video. That would be very kind of you. And also make sure you subscribe. I think we're on 35 subscribers in our race to get to 50 subscribers. I'd love to get to 50 by the 2nd of February, which is my birthday. So that, you guys can all send me a present. And, maybe on the 2nd of February, we can have a chat. And it can be live. And you can wish me all the happy birthdays in the world for my 21st birthday. And, but it would mean the world to me for people to subscribe. If you made it this far, thank you very much. And I look forward to your comments and seeing what your thoughts are. But that's it. Roger Roadside saying goodbye for now, but I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.